Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Changing other people's minds or behaviors or changing other people. And kind of doing this from sort of the Goddard angle. I haven't talked about Goddard in a while. Love Goddard. Agnes and I on our last one that we recorded, we did a little Neville nugget, which is one of Agnes's things, by the way, and that's fantastic. Love all that stuff. But found a couple really awesome quotes about Neville Goddard, and I get questions actually rather frequently about how I can change somebody else. And really, the question's kind of flawed sort of from the get-go. And really, the idea of changing another, to me, is foreign, for sure. But from a lot of my spiritual teachings, from a lot of the law of attraction stuff, Esther Hicks has talked about it, Neville's talked about it, the whole idea of trying to change others is truly missing the point. Really, it's about changing ourselves. And it's easy for a lot of us to want to change the things outside of ourselves because then we feel like that fixes what's inside of us. But the way things are created is from inside out. Nothing is created outside in. Nothing is created outside in. So by trying to fix the outside thing, it's already too late, right? Like you fix the inside thing and then you fix the outside thing by doing that. So that's kind of one of the whole cores of this. So you can just go ahead and stop watching the video right there. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you. End of story. But really what it comes down to is trying to make another person do something or be something. And this is really common. A lot of people do this. They'll look at so-and-so. Maybe your specific person's not currently with you and you want to make them choose to be with you. Some people see law of attraction as kind of working that way, and that's not really what it is. It's not law of forcing someone. It's law of attraction. It's the way things are attracted to each other. It's an equal attraction from both sides. So you're not making them be attracted to you. You're making yourself more attractive. And by doing that, they become attracted to you, right? By working on the inside, by fixing that, you then can make that situation happen. So a lot of people would then say, well, but all right, I get all that. I get that you're saying that, and I get that you're saying it starts with me, but could you make them do it? Could you, using the law of attraction, make them do it? So again, it's completely ignoring the fact that I'm saying, well, no, you actually change who you are instead of changing them. I know. No, but can you make someone else do something? And really the answer is no, you can't. You can't. Someone has always got free will. You cannot make someone. You can only even heal someone or help heal someone. People have exemplified this in the past, but that's only if it works in their life purpose or their higher self can handle it. Or, if being ill is part of their path and part of what they came here to be and experience life through that lens, then healing that would take away that core part of who they meant to be when they came here. So when I come into something, can I make them change? No, you can't make them change. Can you influence others? Yeah, totally. You can influence people for sure, and that's a big part of, again, law of attraction. So a lot of what these things are really trying to work with is that sort of internal energy. So again, a lot of people want to know, how can I change another? How you change another is by changing your inside, yourself. Let me go ahead and throw one of these quotes out there. I feel like this is a little somewhat disheveled of a show, if you will, but change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Do not try to change people. They are only messengers telling you who you are. Reevaluate yourself, and they will confirm the change. I know a lot of people that sounds crazy. No, but they're the ones that are being weird. It's not me. Really what tends to happen, and it's sort of the us pushed out aspect, and it's one of the components of it I really, really enjoy talking about, and it's the part of it that I really think is extremely strong in our lives and the way it affects us. But the us pushed out concept, it's from the angle of when you point your fingers at somebody, you've got three pointing back at you, right? You've got these three fingers here that point back at you when you're pointing at someone. It's the concept of we notice in others what we like and dislike about ourselves. So whenever we kind of look, hey, you or this, right off the bat, stop for a second and look at what this is that you're accusing them of, and really then truly look at yourself. Are you exemplifying that behavior also. And you will find in many, most, almost all cases, it is. It's something that's inside of you. It's something you do on a regular basis. And because you do it on a regular basis, you see it in others. And the way to get rid of that particular behavior is to stop doing it yourself. And actually, when you stop doing it yourself, now all of a sudden that person, they don't do it anymore either. Or at least you don't see them do it, or you're not around when they do it. But either way, as far as you're concerned, they don't do it anymore. And it's not because you've made them stop. It's because you yourself have stopped. So one question always to ask when there's something about somebody else that we're trying to change, it's understanding, is this a behavior I am doing? And if your answer is yes, if you're currently doing the same behavior that you're trying to get someone else to stop, and maybe you're doing it in a slightly different way, but it's the same core basic thing, then you really, in my opinion, have no right to ask anybody else to stop doing this. Reminds me of a great story I read eons ago, and it was Dan Millman, I think, that was where I got it, or Neil Donald Walsh. One of those two books, one of those two authors, I think, is where I came up with this story, and it's a beautiful story. And the story has to do with this master. I think it was a Eastern kind of story, so at least that's how I always sort of envisioned it, like the martial arts master. But he's like the master, or he was the elder. He was the intelligent one, whatever. He was the one that like basically people brought their problems to, and he would help solve them. So this lady approaches him one day and goes, "Sir, so and so, my son eats way too much candy. Can you tell him to stop eating candy?" And he said, "Have your son come back in 1 week, and we will talk." And she goes, "Okay." So a week passes. She brings the son before him, and he says, "Son, stop eating candy." And he goes, "Okay." And he walks away. And the mom's perplexed. Can't figure out for the life of me, why, what, huh? Why'd I have to come back a week later? Why couldn't you? So she asked him, she goes, I beg your forgiveness, sir, and please allow me permission to speak freely. And of course, that was granted. And she says, "Why, when I came before you a week ago, why didn't you just tell my son then not to have candy or sugar?" And his answer was, "Because a week ago, I was eating sugar." You can't ask someone to not do something that you yourself do. You can't. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not okay. And you're creating it because it's active in you. And so long as you keep it active, you will continue to see these things in other people. So it is that very much what we see in others is a reflection of ourselves. We wouldn't recognize it if it wasn't inside of us already. Literally, if there was some form of greatness that you love about someone, it's because that greatness is in you. You can appreciate someone maybe that's a musician. I'm not a drummer. I've played a little bit, but this is a fun little story too, and it's similar. There was a gentleman that was in the coffee shop I was working at. This was years ago. It was 7, 8 years ago at this point. And he was watching a video, and he actually happened to be a music teacher or something along those lines. And he was watching a video, and it was of drummers. It was people drumming in the video. And I walked by because I saw what was on the screen. And then when I was coming back by the other direction, I could see the expression on his face. And it was one of pure happiness, just absolute elation. He was so thrilled that what he was watching, he was enjoying it immensely. You have to be a drummer to really appreciate what is going on in that moment. You have to really love what it is that you're paying attention to be able to see the nuances that make it so profound and amazing. So I say this, if there is some quality about somebody, maybe let's say they're super scientific, right? And maybe you're not. Maybe you've never taken a science class in your life, right? And they're super scientific. You're not necessarily going to look at them per se and go, "Wow, they look so scientific." But if you're someone that's taken science classes or are particularly science-oriented yourself, you might notice the way they're doing a particular something, and maybe they've got a certain shape in there that's like theta or gamma or one of those other crazy characters, right? Like you might notice things that they do that would make you go, "Oh, well, they're scientific." Oh, And it's because it's in you, because you know it. If it's something that you don't know yourself, you're not going to recognize it. It could very well be within that person, but you're not necessarily going to see it. It's not going to be a behavior that pops out. It's not going to be something that you're able to notice or can notice, and certainly wouldn't be something you would ask them to change. So again, I go back to when we're asking people to change, why are we, is kind of a question that needs to be brought up. And then let's bring up another quote here. What the hell? I got 4 of them, so I didn't want to try to throw them all out there too quickly. Stop trying to change the world, since it is only the mirror. Man's attempt to change the world by force is as fruitless as breaking a mirror in the hope of changing his face. Leave the mirror and change your face. Leave the world alone and change your conceptions of yourself. Again, these are all Neville Goddard. He speaks to it frequently, and he talks about affecting people. And I think there's a story where he tried to affect someone or was opting to, but there's also been a number of stories where it went the other direction. Now, again, things to keep in mind about Goddard. It's not just that necessarily everything he spoke was necessarily what he wanted to talk about or maybe what he thought was awesome advice. A lot of it was questions that he was given from people. And a lot of people, very typically, like to try to look outward at their worlds and try to change the world without truly realizing how things are created. Now, all of us, of course, are in a far more savvy boat because of law of attraction and everything we've learned about it. So we understand that we actually have a lot more to do with our worlds as far as what we experience, and it's a focus-based universe, obviously. So what I focus on, I'm going to get more of. And it kind of comes down to the concept of noticing things in others. And it kind of, again, are you noticing something about somebody that needs change? I understand that maybe your specific person isn't with you. That's okay. Again, you're going to make yourself seem more attractive to them. Then they choose you. You're not making them choose you. And I think whenever we come at it from that angle, how can I make them do this? You're already missing the boat. If a man looks upon any other man and estimates that man as less than himself, then he is stealing from the other. He is stealing the other's birthright, that of equality. So if you look at somebody, I love this quote, if you look at another person and in your estimation there's something about that person that needs to change, then you're actually stealing from that person, because that needing to change could have implications in their life. And this kind of brings out one of the points I wrote down over here. If an experience, I'm going to use one example of something horrible I used to do. Horrible habit. It was bad, blah, blah, blah. Everyone hated it. It's bad for your health, everything under the sun. I used to smoke. I was a smoker for a number of years. I then became a non-smoker. I did it cold turkey. I read a book. I will say the book was amazing because one of the first things it said in the book, and I'll say it for anybody out there that does smoke, it's called Easy Way to Stop Smoking. Easy Way to Stop Smoking. Watts is the last name. I don't think it's Alan. I forget his first name. Anyway, it's Watts, some British guy. Guy used to smoke like 7 packs a day. And the first thing I read when I looked at the cover was, keep smoking while you read this. I'm like, dang, can't go wrong there. And I was at that place where I wanted to. I wanted to quit, but I knew it was tough. I knew it was psychologically tough. I'd quit one other time, and then I'd tried multiple times to cut back, to thin down, to go 24 hours without smoking, like any number of things, and found it was psychologically a daunting task. So, got the book, took it home, started reading it, chain smoked through the whole thing, and literally in 2 days' time, I lit up my last cigarette, put it out, wrote down the date and time, and that was it. I never smoked again. Never. Still haven't. It's been, 6 years. Whatever. It's been a while. 5 years, 6 years, whatever. What I got from that was a level of confidence, a level of knowing, a level of ability. Like, I now know I can pretty much do anything because I stopped behaving with one of the most addictive substances on this planet, nicotine. Nicotine's extremely addictive. Whether you take it in a vape or take it in a pen or take it in a sticker that you stick on your skin, a patch, it's still nicotine. You're still poisoning yourself with nicotine. So again, it's what you're addicted to. It's not the device that you're addicted to. It wasn't the cigarettes that I was addicted to. It wasn't cigars or any of that. But through that experience, I became very, very aware of my ability to change my behaviors, to take charge of my life. And if anybody would have made me not be a smoker, and none of my family wanted me to smoke. They didn't like the fact that I did. They didn't like the smell. They didn't like any of that stuff. And if they could have had their way and changed me, then I wouldn't have been smoking. But it was the act of me becoming a non-smoker, the act of me making that change, the act of me changing my own behavior taught me more than anything, and has actually helped me help other people stop smoking because, one, I was a smoker. So anyone that was never a smoker and tries to give advice to smokers, it's absurd. You don't know what you're talking about. And I hate to say it, but you don't. If you've never smoked before, you have no idea what it's like to be a smoker. Don't try to tell people how to stop smoking. You don't get it. You don't understand the concept. Now, maybe if you're like a drug addict in some other way, well, you probably can talk because really addiction is what we're dealing with here. But that being said, it's robbing somebody of their ability to experience something. So again, if you're looking at another person and in your estimation, you've deemed them less than or someone that needs to change or someone that's somehow incorrect, well, you're taking away all of their gosh-given rights to be who they are, to evolve and change and grow. And through, like I've said to many, a lot of the things that we've experienced in life, a lot of the pain points that we've been through that have made us better people came because at a pain, at a hurt. It was like breaking up with someone and then learning, oh my God, you can't be horrible to people, or you shouldn't cheat on people, or you should never be angry and strike people, or you should never push people, or you should never get into people's personal business and spy on them because of trust. And right, like unless you've screwed something up in those regards, sometimes you don't really know that lesson until you've walked through it. Now, should you know you don't spy on people? Yeah, but again, just examples of stuff. Sometimes people have to walk through the fire before they actually know not to do it. Sometimes we're all smart enough to look at others making mistakes and go, ooh, I don't want to do that. But invariably, a lot of us, especially any of you that are parents out there, you know this. You've tried to keep your kid from making mistakes. You've tried to save them from the mistakes you've made. And yet, some of them, they still do anyway, don't they? Yeah, they need to understand it themselves. You are coming at a place of wisdom because you walked through it yourself. You've made that mistake. So taking that away from them is robbing them of something that will forever change their life, will forever make them a better person. So again, judging that and saying, well, you shouldn't do that, that's not really fair. And we don't really know. You need to take a walk in another person's shoes before you actually know what's going on inside their minds. So one of the final quotes here from Goddard. Dare to believe in the reality of your assumption and watch the world play its part relative to its fulfillment. Which means when you really believe in an outcome, this is what the whole core process of manifesting and having it alive in your mind is what Goddard was frequently talking about. It's not that does it work, doesn't it work, does it work? It works. So really when you realize that and then you have a reality in your mind and then you believe in it, and then kind of sit back and watch things unfold, it is amazing the way you will fall into the right places at the right times. You'll bring up random conversations that you wouldn't normally think to, but somehow you started talking about it, or somehow they brought up something that you just happened to do yesterday, and you're like, no way, what a weird coincidence. I was just blah, blah, blah yesterday. And they're like, oh, that's funny. You should say that. I just happen to know this person. And you're like, oh, I need a job. That's him, right? Any number of things can play out, but that's what's amazing about it is when you believe it, you know it. So I know this reality that's in my mind. I know I'm manifesting it. I know I am. I don't have any doubts about that in my mind at all. I get it. I know how it works. I don't question it. And so knowing that and knowing that I've just put that reality out there and created it, I can now kind of sit back and over the next number of days, I'll start to see things happen that will align me with that reality. It'll align me with it. And a lot of people, it's just an example that came up, but like we're trying to manifest relationships, right? And then as soon as we start doing all this work, then suddenly our best friend's now dating someone. A lot of people get jealous. The jealousy actually disaligns you from it. If you're happy for your friend and you realize this is alignment towards your goal, towards what you're manifesting, when you realize this is just playing that out for you, then you see it differently. Instead of someone being in a relationship and I'm not, Someone's in a relationship, which I'm about to. Cool. My friend's in one too. We can date together. We can go out together. We can talk about it together. Awesome. Could not have hoped for better timing and for a better person to be going through the same thing I'm going through at the same time, right? It's how we look at it. It's what we see it as. So again, a lot of us are trying so hard to change people. This topic's kind of covered all sorts of places, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm just getting back into it. I was sick for days. But again, that whole concept of trying to change another person is sort of the point of, like where I said right off the bat, that the point of the question's actually false. Like, you don't change others. You shouldn't change others. You shouldn't desire to change others. If you are desiring to change others, one, you don't understand how change occurs, and that's what I've hopefully helped explain. But two, if you're changing another or wanting to change another, you don't truly understand what it is to have something active in yourself that you need to work through, evolve through, whatever. And if it is something that keeps you from being able to be friends with them and you're trying to change that, well, sometimes people change, and sometimes part of our path is not necessarily to change something about my used-to-be best friend that now does stuff I don't like and try to change that, but instead realize that life is really interesting, and it's certainly too short in a lot of cases. And sometimes if you're harboring friends that aren't really friends, it makes more sense to love yourself enough to maybe not be friends anymore. See, there's different ways to look at things sometimes. Rather than trying so hard to make everything fit this mold that you need it to fit, change yourself to be that mold, and you will notice that things start to fit in just all on their own. So that's why a lot of us, as we get into this law of attraction thing, one, we start to notice strange stuff about other people. It's because we're starting to bring things to the surface in our own lives that we need to address, that we were completely unaware of, but now all of a sudden we've got some extra tools to notice, right? We had a little bit more understanding when we hook up the little computer to our little system in our body, right? You can get a little feedback, kind of like you do in a car, right? And they plug in that little thingy, and then all of a sudden your car starts talking to some computer, and it's like, yeah, no, everything's pretty good, and they click their seatbelt every time. Like, it's just amazing, some of the stuff, by the way, those computers record. But that all being said, it makes an enormous difference in our lives when we start to realize the power of change always lies within us. The power of change is us. Everything starts inside of us. If there's something outside of yourself that you would like to change, a person, a place, a thing, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're trying to change it, that starts inside of you. So if there's somebody you know that's behaving in a certain way, one, make sure you're not doing that, right? Because that's not good. That's not cool. It's not okay. You're going to tell someone, you can't do this, but I'm secretly over here eating a cookie, and I'm telling you can't have cookies. That's jacked up. Unless you're diabetic, right? There's examples for everything where it's, but in this case, right, nothing's black and white, ever. I will always say that forever. Nothing is black and white. Everything is shades of gray. Everything is shades of gray. So let's make sure we're putting our best foot forward if we're hoping to see change in the world. And I guarantee if you're truly looking inward and looking at how we're behaving and what we're sending out to the world, you'll start to notice, ooh, I'm doing this too. And when we stop doing it, the next thing that's amazing, and you'll see it, and you'll write in at some point, you'll notice, yeah, it's weird. Ever since I stopped doing behavior X, I don't see it anymore. I don't see it. It doesn't happen to me anymore. It's weird. It's weird. Like literally, you'll stop doing it, and you won't see it anymore. It's interesting. Prove me wrong. I dare you. I dare a double dog, a triple dog dare you. Oh, did he just throw down a triple dog dare? Damn straight I did. I triple dog dare you. Try it. Hope you guys makes a difference. These were great quotes from Goddard. I think two of these were from Your Faith is Your Fortune, and the other two didn't seem to have a book affiliated with them, so I don't know if they were talks or what they were. But great quotes. I love Goddard. He's awesome. The idea of changing another is something that's not something that should be popping into your head. So if you're trying to do that, let's look at it differently. Seriously, let's look at it very differently. And if you're asking, but can I? Go back and listen to the beginning of the video, because no, you can't. You can't change another. You can only change you. And you can influence others, yes, but you cannot force a horse to drink when you take it to water, right? I can lead a horse to water, but I cannot make it drink. You cannot make your friends change, or you cannot make your significant person change. You can't. You can only show them the way sometimes. You can be the best way shower that you possibly know how. But certainly, that's about the extent of what we can do when it comes to affecting others. Be an example. It's the better way to go. You're going to feel better about it, and it really is the more noble path, if you will. I don't know. Maybe a funny way to put it. Anywho, hopefully this makes a difference. Dan RadioStyle almost said going out with a song, which again, this is how many years I've been doing these videos. But changing other people's behaviors, Goddard style, right? Let's not focus so much on that. Let's see what we can do about ourselves. Thank you guys. Love you. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe. Please comment, thumbs up, share my videos. All of those things are some of the best ways you can possibly help my channel. If you've got friends that maybe are into my stuff, then, share with them and see if, maybe get them to check out some of my stuff. Maybe they like it. Hopefully that's you watching right now. But thank you all. More great videos coming. If you've got show topics, throw those in the comments as well. I love reading those, and they make it into my little notepad when I see them, and believe me, that's one of the most important parts of my whole thing right now is just making sure anytime a show topic pops into my head, I've got to write it down immediately or I will immediately forget it. That's kind of how it works. Dan RadioStyle. Thanks, everybody.